Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bold Takes and Bad Decisions. My name is Zachary Ronaldo, better known online as Zach the Bold. And it is this last week, let me tell you, folks, has been the exact same as the last episode. I have done nothing interesting in my time or in my life other than make a video, surprise video. Whoa! My bags once again. If you're saying, Zach, you look terrible, you're looking worse than you did last time. Thank you. I appreciate that. I feel myself slowly melting back into Matthew McConaughey's character. I'm really bad with character names. I have some friends who can watch animes and they remember the most obscure, random. I can't do it. Listen, I know William Afton though. All right, I know that name. Anything FNAF lore-wise pre the Mimic. This is a D&D podcast where I talk about D&D and occasionally FNAF fan theories. It is hot in my room, so we're going back to our roots. But yeah, I have not been up to much other than making long-form videos and also attempting to make short-form videos at the same time. And let me tell you, I might have said this last podcast, but I'm starting to feel how people expect how busy I am to be. Does that make sense? I'm putting in a lot of hours into making these long form videos, and I just want to say, how do I say this without getting on the front page of Reddit for being the worst video? Is the camera too high? I feel like every time someone meets me in real life, they say you're taller in person. I think it's because I've been putting the camera too high. I feel like I'm being looked down upon. This is more cinematic, right? I can't tell. It's probably fixed in post, but it's dark. I gotta make sure to fix that. What were we talking about? Zach, you need a guest. You need a guest to keep you on track. No, I don't. And I don't want one, okay? We've talked about that before. But make sure to go out and say your thanks to the long-form D&D creators. Because I want you, the viewer, to genuinely, and you may not have thought about this deeply before in your life. Why would you? Try to think of a new Dungeons & Dragons long-form series that has not been done before. Genuinely. Think about something like that. Whether it be reviews, an actual play, I guess whatever the heck I'm doing. It is incredibly difficult. And I like to think, right, I had some kind of edge. I cannot believe how high this camera is. We're going to keep it. Because I'm looking at the monitor now, and I'm looking where the camera is. It's too high up. That's all right. This is a cinematic podcast. And it's incredibly difficult because Dungeons & Dragons is a medium of literature. It's a medium of storytelling that's all made up in your head. So when you want to move that into a visual medium, right? It's easier when we're doing something like I gotta name the series. We'll get into that in a second, but I've got to name that Office style series. But when we look at something like that, right? It's a little bit easier, or just like the shorts I do. It's more about the experience of playing. There's something visual about it. You see your friends, or you guys are gracious enough to give me some of your imagination to fill in the holes of where I can't, where I can't. I'm trying to say this as fast as I can so you can't clip it. I'm trying to fit in the holes where you guys can't reach. Where I can't reach. Dude, oh my God. Don't clip that. But I'm trying to make up for the lack of like VFX or anything I have, right? And you guys graciously lend me your imagination for that, and I really appreciate it. But then I'm pacing around, and you know, I have some gracious sponsors for the channel that I have deadlines for or whatever, and I'm just like, what has not been done? Oh my gosh, look at this video game that is D&D, and it sucks. Oh, there's 40 videos from very popular YouTubers, especially D&D creators who have made a video about it. Okay. And it was made within the last 2 months. Okay. Well, great. Now it seems like I'm stealing their content. I shout out to the long form Dungeons and Dragons creators who have been doing this for 10 plus years. I get it now. I can see why you want to be like every week you're how to be Batman in D&D, how to be Green Lantern in D&D, how to be. I get it now. It's hard. Yo, this long form stuff got hands. Sorry, I have to make sure I'm recording, even though we're already X amount of time. And I've realized I keep saying the timestamp, but it's edited in post, so it's probably not the same amount of time that has passed. So I got to stop doing that. So that's what I've been dealing with. I had my cousin's daughter wants to become a YouTuber, and they of course think it's the thing. Every parent I interact with, and I do interact with some parents. Some people have kids, and they always have the same thing where, you know, my son, daughter, my child wants to be a YouTuber. And then I'm living proof of that. And it's like, oh, I do want to be living proof. Follow your dreams. Anything is possible. Even if anyone told me to not follow my dreams, I had a very, very supportive family and everything. I would have done it anyways. I would have I still would have went to LA. I still would have, been on, done the central casting thing and everything. And for those who don't, that's background. Okay. Before you guys make any assumptions. And yeah, but it is a weird thing to all of a sudden have someone in the family that they can point to and be like, well, Zach did it and it's working out pretty well for him. And so it is now most of my week. And the reason these videos take so long is the idea part. Simply put, there is, especially with the long form, what has not been done. And this is why I feel more pressured for the long form to start making more video game content and things like that. There's more. I don't inherently want to make magic content. I want to make video game content. I still want to make D&D content, but let's look at as of this recording, last Friday, I had posted a video going over a card game that I had made back when I was in college. And some people are like, a year ago? No, it was like 5, okay? Because it was early on in college. And the thing is that video was written in some way where when I'd finally gotten around to editing it, and I put it all together, I go, wow, there's like a crazy lack of jokes in this script. And I'm thinking, and I've realized I've gotten caught up on the idea as opposed to how to make it. I felt like I was on such a strict timeline. So, a long story short, right? I think I've realized when it comes to long form videos and balancing it out with my short form, that if I really do want to dedicate my time to making a good, nice long form video. And I didn't have this problem with the Office parodies. I'll think of a name. That I need to work longer on the script. But when I have deadlines and I need to get a video out, and then I put it together and I go, oh, I forgot to make it entertaining. I mean, I think it was entertaining. Let me say that, right? Something can be entertaining and not inherently super funny. I'm trying to work and not really funny. But the thing is like when I write the scripts for the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons reviews, I make sure to like stick to the television sitcom writing elements of make sure there's a joke like every other line. And I put together this video about that card game I made, and I was like, what a novel idea. I can make some jokes about myself and my skills and whatever. And it was fine, but I got around and I go, oh, I forgot to do the thing that people come to expect me to do. And so I'm learning and seeing how my time is put together to make shorts, which is my bread and butter. And the thing I think I like doing more, it depends, right? I think I just objectively like writing skits more than I do reviews or, talking head videos, whatever. But I also love the podcast, right? But this isn't scripted. This takes way less of my time. And I get why every celebrity and every comedian and everybody has a podcast now. But I putting this all together, right, is hard. And listen, there is no world where I think I miss the days of being a server in downtown Los Angeles, because I don't. That was a nightmare and I hated it, right? I'm very blessed for what I do. Blessed count for the week. But it's long form's a different animal, and I'm trying to wrangle it, right? And I will look up things that have been done a million times, and all of a sudden, and that's why it was like Scourge of the World, if you've seen that video, was such an easy catch because no one really had made a video about it. But it was also like someone had a great comment on the video where it was just, they had said that Scourge of the Worlds was just a piece of media that was lost to time. And it's not the worst thing in the world. And it's not the best thing. It's not The Room. You know, it's just lost media because it's whatever, right? It was a mark of its time. And I was able to capture some of that and make a joke funny video about it. And that was fun. But it is hard all of a sudden when I don't have that backlog anymore of ideas of, make Scourge of the Worlds, make this AD&D series, make this. All of a sudden I'm left with scrambling, being like, what is new? And that's the thing about being a content creator, is that you don't always have to do what is new, because people sometimes just want to hear your voice and your takes on certain things, right? Maybe I see the appeal of making the Wizards is falling, Wizards is cooked, videos you see every week from certain creators. But I had kind of made one. I said Wizards is losing momentum in the space of Dungeons and Dragons. It doesn't feel as hyped coming out of a space where everything was Dungeons and Dragons for a little bit last fall. And making a video like that is kind of easy, right? It is easy to put, the clickbait title and, oh my gosh, is Wizards falling off, explosion, everything in the background. It follows what is the algorithm I talked about before, about don't be chasing algorithms, be chasing what you think is funny and good. But for long form, right, it's hard. It's hard. It really is. So that doesn't deter me from stopping to doing that. But I think a good median is maybe 2 long form videos a month until I can get a team together. I'm putting a team together to make so that I can consistently make long form videos without, sacrificing, I think I only posted 1 short a week this entire month. And I'd prefer to be a little bit more on top of that, right? I think I'd prefer to have it so that I can make a video once every 2 weeks, that's long form, and I can still do the skits and what I like from there. And maybe the passion, right, for what I'm making right now isn't as boiling hot as the long form skits, the Scourge of the Worlds video, the everything like that. And maybe once the video game stuff comes around, and if it's received well, then I'll be really excited, really, really great. But right now it is grind. I'm grinding away and trying to do everything I can to balance this stuff out. And I'm still learning a bunch of stuff. And a lot of people will notice that, my compared to other people who had 450,000 on YouTube, that my long form does not get the views that a lot of people with those amount of subscribers get, right? But we talked about this last podcast, and my bread and butter is shorts. If you look at my shorts numbers, right, that's different. But it's crazy because, I watched someone like Nova, Oberhaxor Nova growing up. And, it's weird to see my views on my shorts get more than his. But his long form gets more views than mine, right? They are different worlds. And the only person who I've seen, I'm sure there's plenty of other examples, but like Joe Bartolosi or whatever, he made it big in shorts and he converted that to long form. So it's possible, right? It's just, you need to balance the two. And Joe left because of this or that and how certain companies, TikTok, treat their short form creators. And I don't blame him, right? We've had this conversation plenty of times before, but it's an interesting, unique, wild West world. And, AI is up and coming, and soon, I'm going to be one of those, Bigfoot talking at you and whatever. It's bleak out there, folks. It's bleak, but I'm trying my best. We have one more long form coming out this month, not including the podcast. Whenever I say the long form, it does not mean the podcast. The podcast is its own thing. So this Friday, spoilers, we're going to have part 2. We're going to talk about the campaign that I wrote for the campaign that I'd written for the card game. And I think it'll be fun and neat. I was rereading it. And I think it's so funny that I started that campaign with just rewriting Genesis. Like, what is wrong with me, right? In some spaces, absolutely, I think that is heretical. And we don't have to get into it. So yeah, tip your long form creators. See, that's the way I didn't want to say. That sounds bad. I take that back. But it's, when I was growing up, right? It was astronaut. I wanted to be a rock star or an astronaut. And now that I have, my nieces and nephews coming up to me and being like, well, Zach, they're arguing. Their parents are, we need doctors in this world. We need doctors. Dad, I want to go to Walmart and I want to yell and I want to scream and yell and make prank videos. No, you can't do that. We have to contribute to our society. Let the robots do that, Dad. I want to go out and I want to make Squid Game. Zach's doing it, and I'm there in the corner. What? Well, actually, it's Zach's doing just fine doing it. Me, L, my knees are tucked into my chest. I'm smoking a cigarette. Well, I don't know about that. Look how good Zach's doing. I'm cutting the beer can, making the little figures. He's doing fine. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that. Listen, follow your dreams, follow whatever, but make art, share your art. To be an example for a child that they can look at their parent and say, look at this guy, he's doing great. Listen, I struggled. It took me a while to get here, right? And now some of them want to come over and watch my process. And so I think I'll just, if one of my nephews want to come over and see my process, they can sit and watch me pace around my house thinking of ideas. Well, maybe I'll make a video on Neverwinter and maybe that'll cool and people will like me. And they come back and they go, I guess I should start studying. I guess, yeah, Dad, maybe you did have a point. Meanwhile, someone right now, they're in one of those factories where they grab the molten steel and put it into another machine. They're drywalling someone in 110 degrees. Listen, I get it, all right? I get it. But there's nothing more frustrating about this job than when I want to get a video out tomorrow, like the day after tomorrow, the hit movie Day After Tomorrow. But there is nothing more frustrating than being like, I'm on a deadline for myself that I've made up in my head, right? That I want to get a video out in, let's say, 2 days, right? I can think of an idea and start shooting today, edit tomorrow, and whatever. And then I pace around my house for 8-9 hours, and I can't think of a video, and I'm punching my drywall. Not really. I'm like that gif of the guy grabbing the door and slamming it down. It's incredibly frustrating. And I've made 220 plus videos, some of them being skits, some of them not. But it's just that's what's waiting for you, kids. That's what's waiting for you is Mr. Beast, he has it different, right? He can do, it doesn't matter what he does. He can roll the dice. He has like 7 sets of dice and he rolls one and it says charity stream. And then he rolls another one, reenacting, and then he rolls another one, the day after tomorrow. I have spent $5 million freezing over a whole town, and now a person has to walk from, what was it, New York to LA or something? What was that movie about? That's fine. They can roll the dice. Me, I'm thinking. I'm the thinker, right? I'm scrolling through the warp, looking for new ideas about Dungeons and Dragons. And a lot of people, I've seen say in the comments section of my Advanced Dungeons and Dragons module reviews, The Office, story time, whatever, right? And say, this is refreshing. Zach, this is refreshing. And me on my high horse, it is refreshing. And then I go and I try to make any other video long form, and it's impossible. It's impossible. We got other things to talk about. We're a few minutes in. I got to get around to it. So I saw Zach Kreger's Weapons, and I just want to say, so Weapons is, of course, the horror movie where the kids run outside. I did not realize it was directed by Zach Kreger. I didn't realize that Barbarian was directed by Zach Kreger. For those who don't know, Zach Kreger was in The Whitest Kids You Know, which was an old film skit group. I don't want to say led by Trevor Moore. I really don't know what that is. Rest in peace, Trevor Moore. But they were a big inspiration of my comedic upbringing. And it's so cool to see this pipeline of comedy sketch artist to horror director, right? But comedy and horror, there's a lot to read about that, and how making someone laugh is kind of in the same vein as like making someone afraid. Subversion of expectations. Scaring someone, making someone laugh. Your Honor, Your Honor, listen. But it was very inspiring, especially as someone who makes, listen, the degree of what Zach Kreger made in Whitest Kids You Know with those guys, and Jordan Peele making and Ian Peele and whatever, and Mad TV going back, and gosh, the if you haven't checked it out, you should. Oh, maybe it's been dated. I don't know. It's been a long time. The one, Key and Peele skit. Is that Key and Peele? Was the Deal or No Deal or No Deal. Deal or No Deal. This part's gonna be cut. Yeah. So the Mad TV Deal or No Deal parody. I don't know how that holds up today, by the way. So I it's been forever. But it is cool that there is a capacity of making something larger than yourself, and I loved it. I loved Weapons. I thought it was fantastic. And I've realized that I think it should be some parliament somewhere that'll make it so that it affects, it's kind of like the loot boxes from Overwatch. It should affect everything. Someone needs to ban any and all film talk on Twitter. I couldn't believe it. I go out, I want to see what people are talking about, and people love it. And then there's like the worst takes in the world. And it just ruined it for me. I mean, it didn't ruin the movie, but I was just like, I don't care. And I have the same thing with the Superman movie James Gunn made, and these Snyderverse fans that just hate on it for no reason. It's the internet. It's internet discourse, and I'm pissed because I'm also not one of the guys to be like, let people enjoy things, right? I think valid criticisms are valid criticism, but I think, I have problems with some friends who, they in the same, like they'll watch, Ant-Man, Doctor Strange, Quantumania, and they love it, and they give it a 9.5. It's the best thing they've ever seen in their life. And in the same breath, they'll watch something like Shawshank Redemption and be like, it's a little overrated. It's a little overrated. And then it makes me lose my mind. That's what I can't stand. Listen, go love your Marvel stuff. Go love your superhero. Go love Mission Impossible. Go love all that, right? But don't come around here and be like, oh, well, the lighthouse actually was a little subversive for the metaphors that the allegory that we're saying. They will say till the end of time, let people like things. Let people enjoy things. And then they'll watch some art house film and be like, well, actually, I hate that. I hate it. All right. You eat the slop. And then when it comes to telling people your opinions on art house films, then all of a sudden you're Robert Eggers or whatever his name is. And I hate that. And it's the same thing I've been seeing. I saw Superman. I was like, fine, whatever. I'll put that to the side. It's fine. It's fine. And then and then it happened with Weapons. And I was like, I'm done. I'm done looking at discourse online for anything film related, music related, entertainment, whatever. Anyways, guys, watch my reviews on Adventures, AD&D modules, whatever. Okay. Alert. I'm going to be talking about magic real quick. For all the non-magic listeners, just close your eyes. That's a joke. If you're driving, don't close your eyes. Okay. I am a little bit when we were talking about me just hating on, popular opinions and whatever, I'm going to now join the popular opinion of the magic discourse, which is, I think back to 2 months ago when we had the aggro red meta, and we had this like these metas that had been around for like a while, right? And they were very overpowered and whatever. I am now in the position where I can confidently say I cannot keep up with, one, the amount of cards that they're making, and two, the standard metas. I can't. I refuse to pay hundreds of dollars for arena cards because my stuff keeps getting banned, or it gets rotated out, or, which I have not talked about before, a new power crept version is made better. I can't keep up with it. I don't have time to play arena that much to get the coins. I'm not spending the money, and every time I open a pack, it's something I don't want, and I'm sick of it. I really am. I'm moving to historic. I'm done with standard, and you know what? I'm gonna play Gates. I'm gonna play the Gates, Primeval Titan deck, and I'm done. I'm done. Like I'm done trying to keep up in standard. I don't have the time for it anymore. I barely had the time for it then. It took me half a year to finally get all the lands I needed to play blue-red, before VV, Corey Steelcutter. All the D&D fans are like, those are words. Those are definitely words put together. But I'm sick. I can't keep up. And I don't want to keep up. I don't even buy the physical cards, right? Bristly Bill is $80 right now. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? And I'm upset and I'm done with it. And people are like, everyone's concentrating on Commander and they don't talk about Standard and whatever. But it's impossible. There's too many sets and there's too many good cards that come out in these sets because they need to sell them. And I can't keep up. And like I stopped talking about Magic for a little bit because I was so frustrated with the fact that I couldn't play Arena. Like, I'm sorry, I want to play competitive. I want to win. But I can't because I don't have enough rares, whatever. We talked about this. And I'm done. I'm done with it for right now. And it was so funny. My mom had given me a bunch of boxes, which prompted, the card game video on last Friday. And what I had been given was Pokemon cards. I have a bunch. I have like 6 or 7 of these guys packed to the brim, full of bulk, and I have gone through each of them, and I've taken out, the ones that are worth anything. I'm giving the rest to my nephew. And it's just so funny of like why I get upset at Magic, because I came in from Pokemon, and Pokemon, at least from like when I was playing and everything, and even just coming in from Magic, it is so funny to see the Pokemon trading card game where it's like, well, if you would like to play a little support card that, well, you get to draw 4 cards and, well, your opponent also draws 4 cards and whatever. And then you play Magic and it's like, if you play this card, your opponent's head will explode. If you play this card, his social security number will be leaked online. Well, if you play this one item, then maybe you can put one more energy on your Pokemon. If you play this card in Magic the Gathering, your opponent gets frostbite in their toes and they get it. No wonder I came into Magic. I'm like, wow, the designers just hate us. They hate us and we keep playing it. And I thought that was hilarious. It's a totally different game. And I was talking a couple weeks ago about how I couldn't imagine if I was, blue collar, which, I'm a blue collar advocate. I've been setting bricks, Blackstone has just bought out 40,000 more acres and I'm building a Dollar General in this. We've demolished 70 buildings from the 1700s and we're putting up a Dollar General and a Qdoba. And I've been slaving away for 12 hours putting down bricks. And they give you those little slushies on construction sites, whatever. And corporates walking around inspecting. And they're making $1 billion an hour. And I'm just there. I've got my foreman who's I've never been a blue collar, whatever. I've split wood before with my buddies, all right, growing up. But I come home, and what are my options? I can play a game of Magic the Gathering Online Standard, and I get there, and the meta has changed 40,000 times since I've played last, and every deck I've ever built is null. And I just see defeat, defeat, defeat. And my world starts spinning around. How can you play this game in person standard? Listen, I get it. You're in a dual income, no kids. Honey, I got to put a second mortgage on the house. VV just got banned and it tanked. Well, hey, Is It Cauldron was standard meta right now and it tanked and I have no more. I can't play, but I got my Mythics card back on Arena. But I spent, honey, they banned Bristly Bill. We are now in a $4,000 deficit. I know. I was gonna play at the local tourney and make our mortgage payment this month. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. I was talking about how I can't even get anyone to play this game because what's the appeal? What am I supposed to say to them? But I love it. I love Magic, and it makes my brain itch. And once you get into it, people really like it. And Commander, I love Commander, all right? I love that you can have a little, like, this is my mermaid deck, and this is my deck about rats, and this is my deck about sacrifice. That's cool, and it has personality to it. And then I go on Arena, and I'm sweating, and I'm melting, and I'm mad, and I'm brewing, and I'm yearning. And, that's just, it's just frustrating. And it's like, oh, well, you don't have to have every card. Well, I kind of do. I kind of do need to know what every card is, or else I'm going to lose these games that I've been playing. And then it just, it's like cable television, right? Zach, what the hell are you talking about? But it is. It's like cable television. You get Netflix streaming, and it beats cable. And they have this thing where you can get 1,000 billion channels for $1 million a month, and then Netflix comes out and it's a competitor. And look at Netflix. You can watch whatever. There's no commercials. It's you can pay. Listen, I cut my grass, and they accepted my grass shavings as payment for Netflix. And this is awesome. And then, Hulu pops up. Oh, maybe you need two, right? All right, well, maybe I give them $8, right? $4 for Netflix, $4 for Hulu. Oh, there's a Disney Plus. And then there's Zubo and DP and PP and Poo Poo. And then there's 40. Now we are in the cable generation. We are in the cable age of streaming services. And now we're like, I can't watch football without getting NFL Plus, NFL Season Pass, ESPN, Hulu, Disney, Prime, Voodoo, PP Poo Poo, and it's costing me $2,000 a month. All right? This is how it feels to play Magic the Gathering in this day and age. Hey, I'm edging off to Eternities just dropped. It doesn't matter. They've actually reprinted every card that they have in Edge of Eternities. They made it 10 times better in Avatar. Also, if you want an Avatar Collector's Booster to hold it down, it's going to cost you $1,200. Zach, you want to go watch The Office on PP Poo Poo? It's $40,000 a month. Oh, no, that's all right. I've actually already broke from buying one pack of Final Fantasy. And this is where we're at. Everywhere. And everything. Zach, download the McDonald's app so you can get 4 Big Macs for $75. And then you can head over to your local retailer, and they're going to be out of Final Fantasy, so you can spend $70 in gas going to every LGS until you finally find something that can sell you a Final Fantasy set booster for $30. And hey, you can go home and you can watch your streaming service for another $90,000. And that's just what it feels like everywhere. And then they're like, oh, hey, well, you can spend that money on a printer and ink. And then you get into the printer world, right? Like that isn't the worst thing ever. And it just feels like being a nerd is being attacked on all fronts of give money. Give me thousands of dollars right now. Give me $1 billion. And let me be real, right? I promote a lot of Dungeons and Dragons at like products and services. But it's like this is coming full circle. Look, I don't forget about anything I'm talking about. It feels like we're going back to the cable days. Just as much as like I've played Magic, I wasn't as enthused about D&D for a little bit, momentum dropping off, and then I go into Magic and it's asking me for $40,000 a month to make sure I can play the game. And I go, hey, Dungeons and Dragons is free and I can make that whenever. And I have the Dagger Heart book and there's resources online to play it. And I think I'm fine with that, actually. I think actually I don't want to spend $1 billion. I actually don't think that, right? And that's just kind of where it's full circle, right? Maybe I'll just rent a book from the library. Maybe I'll just do something that doesn't cost me $1 million to play with my friends. So that's how it's felt, and you know, playing Magic and all these sets coming out and being excited for next thing, and I can't even be excited for Suthra the Super Void because Dookie Pants Aang the Last Airbender Avatar came out and he's 40 times better. Oh, okay. How much is a pack for that? $1 million. Oh, great. Well, actually, I don't need to buy dice or anything. I actually can just do it online. I can actually just roll a dice on Google. I can just say roll a D20. It doesn't. It's free. So that's where I've been for a little bit, and maybe that's why it's you know, it's been hitting me a little bit more of you know, I spend all this time and money putting these decks together, and then they suck, and I'm bad, and it's just exhausting, you know. Is it hypocritical of me to have sponsors after going on that huge rant? I gotta eat. I gotta eat, okay? Listen, there was ads during television all through you growing up, all right? You're watching Saturday morning cartoons where you're watching Bebop and Rocksteady fight the Ninja Turtles growing up. And you didn't have to complain about that. That's how you learned about Mighty Beans, okay? That's how you learned about Pogs, okay? Maybe I want to show you a cool dice every now and again, all right? But, and it's just like, you know, it's saying Bricky has said this before. Shout out Bricky. Love that guy. But he said this before where he's like, my $70, him saying it as a large YouTuber and me saying it as a YouTuber as well, is not the same as yours. It's not. I knew what it was. I know what that feeling is. And for me to be saying that, right, it should be. You know, I go and I play and we're on skill check in my one skill check episode and I'm using proxies, right? Because I'm like, it's just not, I can't justify it. Whatever. Oh, okay. Yeah. Before we get into the thing that we talk about, which is Dungeons and Dragons, which of course is the highlight of what we're doing here. I wanted to talk about Alert. I'm playing a new video game. We've been talking a little bit about how I've been playing Total War Warhammer 3 and Magic the Gathering Arena, and it has been doing a number on my psyche. For a little bit, I finished my Total War Warhammer 3 campaign. I played the Grand Cathay, and it was boring, and I hate that faction, and I went to Lizardmen, and it was 100 times better. Well, I'm playing a new game, and it's a little number called Kenshi. And for those who don't know what Kenshi is, I don't know if I'm going to be able to describe it to you. It is an open sandbox world that is set in a post-apocalyptic world, and you can do whatever you want. And before I forget this train of thought, I just want to say, Kenshi, I would never have a good time playing a D&D game that's Kenshi. But I would love to play a video game that's like Kenshi. However, it's like, more heavy-based stuff. I played Hades, and I love roguelikes, but I wasn't enthralled by the story. I kind of just wanted to play the game. So I play D&D much different than Kenshi. So for anyone who's like, well, Zach, you like Kenshi, but you hate sandbox D&D games, they're totally different for me. I play video games for a different reason that I play, D&D. But this game rocks. Me and my girlfriend pressed play, new game at the same exact time. And it is so funny to see how I became an outlaw bounty hunter. And she became, the mayor of the city and is rebuilding the world. Me, I'm a warlord, warmonger. It rocks. It's awesome. I'm having a great time with it. And I've already started with 3 new characters because I don't like playing this game. And then if I die, I come back and I respawn. I don't like that. It's not cool. I like getting into the role play aspect of it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the whole world of Kenshi is being played. It's this huge sandbox when you're in this post-apocalyptic world, and the whole world has stuff going on in this single-player game while you're in, you can be, I'm literally, walking around in this small town, and all of a sudden I get a notification that, Wolf Outpost 47 is gone. And I'm like, what is that? And then 4-5 miles away, I find this burning outpost. The world is a living, breathing thing. It's very cool. I'm sure there's a lot more games like that, but I'm playing Kenshi. There'll be more Kenshi updates as we continue on. But I've been incredibly busy with the long form, and I need to remember to, keep some time for myself and all of that. But in my free time, I've been playing that, and I've been having a riot. So if you're a Kenshi fan, I get it. Shall we get into questions? Shall we get into questions? Before I forget as well, I've had a couple people reach out to me and be like, can I write you, for no charge, can I write you an intro song? And if you want to, that's great. And I will listen to it on the podcast. Live reaction. I'll make sure to pog. You can send it my way if you want to. Will it become the official song? Probably not. Nor will I, have it every episode. But if you want to, feel free. That's totally fine. You touched on this briefly last episode, but balancing encounters is more than difficult. Though there are many websites and tools to assist with it, it doesn't seem like there's any good way to do it other than experience and fudging when things go wrong. As a very new DM, I worried about balance, so used multiple websites and cross-referenced them to ensure encounters were balanced, and this led to individual combats being balanced to a certain degree. However, I frequently gave my players a BS long rest before the boss. They did not have the resources that the encounter was balanced behind. I've never seen any advice on it, nor any tools to help calculate as the difficulty across a day. So, what are your tips for balancing multiple combats within a single adventuring day? It's funny, multiple combats are necessary in my opinion, so that's the easiest way to balance out in martial and magic classes. It is so funny to me that you're having a problem balancing multiple combat encounters in a day, when that is literally how Dungeons and Dragons combat was made. It was made to be longer than one. Like I imagine, I think you said something like this at the beginning, but you should have a bigger problem using D&D calculators and battle sims and all of that. Calculating the damage for one enemy, for one boss, than you should having across the entire dungeon. Because that is how D&D combat was made for. It was made to be this long, strenuous, dungeon crawl. And you're like, well, how do I balance that? I thought that's how it was made, honestly. I've always had the problem of throwing in a long rest before my big boss. When no one is, she said, I don't know the lyrics of that song. When the feeling's numb. Well, I've been wanting to make a D&D skit like that for a little bit, but then it's like, I've done it before. I've hit two niches too fast, and it does not perform well. Shockingly, when you take two niches that aren't connected in any way and put them together, then you hit an even larger niche where those two connect together. But when you get to your big bad guy, right? What does that look like, right? And even then, what does it look like if you don't have it? How many times have we spent a D&D session until we get to a long rest where we haven't used our 8th level spells? Sorry, puberty is hard. What's that thing from Victorious? I'm still going through puberty. I'm on the last chapter of puberty, and he's a slow reader. What am I talking about? And it's hard because then it's like, well, yeah, I've played 17 sessions in tier 4, but I haven't used one 9th level spell. And the reason for that is because I keep thinking the boss is going to show up. I think this is, let's get away from the calculators. Let's get away from the CR. Let's get away from all that, right? Maybe we start thinking about planning our combats in a way that our players can expect them to happen, right? Whether that be, you know that there's going to be 3 sections of a dungeon. There's going to be the first part, and you're going to get a long rest. And there's going to be the second part, and it might be a little bit harder, and you're going to get a long rest. And in between that, you're going to have to use a short rest, too. Because it's going to be long, it's going to be difficult. Let's relax, okay? And then we get to the big boss, and that's when you can use your stuff, all right? Or you can throw it out and be like, maybe this is part 1 and this is part 2, and you got to use your resources better way. But the thing is that we need to look at it in the light of how we can balance these dungeons in a way that your players have the expectations to use the resources given to them, and knowing that there's going to be checkpoints in the game to make it so that, you can go into the final boss and maybe have X amount of resources. Maybe you want them to have all their resources. Maybe you want them to get to the boss and feel like they're losing and that they have to fight and claw their way out into the boss. But the thing I would say you probably shouldn't do, right, is to make the spend so much time on the CR calculators, and you can cross-reference if you have fun, right? Maybe you're a numbers guy. I'm not. I don't like math. I don't like math or reading or writing or science or history. I don't like trigonometry, geometry. I don't like anything taught in grade school. I don't like balancing my checkbook. I like playing Kenshi, and I like yelling about card games and Dungeons and Dragons. And that's what I love. And, I love waking up, and I love going, I love getting paged that I got to work a double on Saturday. That's what I like. I like being the manager at a busy fast food chain in a larger city, not the largest city in my state, but a larger city. And, we're short-staffed. We're short-staffed because my general manager's mad at me. My general manager is mad at me because they're getting yelled at by the corporate heads, and the corporate heads are getting yelled at by the board of directors, and the board of directors, all of them have millions of dollars in stock in private equity companies, right? And that trickles down to me until there's pressure on my head, and I'm calling up a 16-year-old to be like, hey, can you come work this shift, right? That, out of context, that can sound really bad. But they're like, no, actually, sorry, I'm not supposed to be working anymore. School started back up. And that's what I love. And I love the pressure of it. Like, I got to go in now for a double on Saturday. And you know what? I told my wife, I said to my wife, I said, hey, right, this is the time. We'll be able to play Kenshi during this time. We'll be able to get together, and we'll go out on a date, and it'll be nice. And I've been saving up for it. And now I got to tell her, right, that I got to go in for a double at Qdoba on Saturday, because I don't have any employees. Anyways, I don't like math, and going into like the CR calculator is bad for some people. Not me, right? Not you. It is for me. Guys, I'm having heat stroke. But this is the thing, right? Is let's start talking about player expectations for what a dungeon looks like. That way we don't either underutilize or overutilize our resources, which will then balance our encounters a little bit more, right? Because then my players know what's coming a little bit more, and maybe I can surprise them sometimes still in that equation. Or, I was going to have a second part to this, but I can't. I'm getting lightheaded again. But that might help solve some of your issues for these longer dungeons, is that the player expectations might be a little bit like, what are we getting into? What does this look like? Do I save this for the big boss for the bad guy at the end, right? I don't know. I think that's an interesting thing that you should maybe play around with. See how that feels. Because I think player expectations are not talked about enough when it comes to what a dungeon crawl looks like or a combat encounter. And I think because your player expectations aren't aligned with what you imagine this dungeon to be, they might do things that are a little bit more random, are a little bit more out of your expectations, right? Maybe they fight the sub-boss and they use all their stuff, and then when the bad boss comes around, the BBEG, then they have no resources, and then everything's bad. So, something to think about. Maybe some new take on the pod. I don't know. Oh, there is a second part. They sent me another email to follow up. I'm a very new DM, and for my very first... Oh, wait, never mind. Maybe not. I'm a very new DM, and for my very first session, I ran a simple one-shot level 5. I wanted players to feel powerful so that their first experience of D&D was fun, but I struggled with balancing encounters. Another friend of mine tried to run their first session at level 20. That's so, yeah, that bad idea. Stupid, dumb. And it went horribly wrong, horribly as warned, especially because they tried to homebrew a boss that just did nothing. So that's so bad. What level is best for a first-time DM? I'm just going to say it. It's level 1. It might not be fun. It might not be exciting. Your players might not have that much to do. If it's the first time they're playing, it's the first time you're DMing, sorry, you got to start at level 1. Roll the dice. Oh, a kobold comes over and it stabs you in the chest and your character dies. Oh, well. Now, welcome to actually tier 1 of D&D. The most fun tier of D&D. Arguably the most fun tier of D&D. Because, it's scary. You don't have Revivify. You don't have, you die to one breath weapon. Arguably arguably the most fun that you can have is level 1 through 5. And people know that. I mean, that's been talked about to death. All right. Hello, Zach. Milestone is obviously the correct way to level players in D&D, but I have a small issue in running my game while using it that I was hoping you'd be able to assist me with. I love writing and running noir mystery campaigns, same, and with that, the arcs can vary in length pretty greatly depending on the players. Now, my players are awesome, very responsive to the world, asking a million questions, role-playing, minor encounters, coercing NPCs to get information. I know, my steak is too juicy, my lobster is too buttery. Is that a phrase? Someone put that in my comment section. Or are you saying that because I said that in one of my... Actually, I made that up. I think I made that up. The problem is that Arrives is where you hit 6 or 7 sessions. 6, 7, 6, 7. Okay, the problem is that Arrives is that we hit 6 or 7 sessions in and minor, but still audible groans begin to about how they haven't leveled up or asking how long until they do or complaining that XP would have leveled them up by now. Is that something? Oh, if they said something like that, If your players say something like XP actually would have gotten us to this next level, you can actually be like, you can actually go to their house and you can deconstruct it. You can go in and you can take the 2x4s out of their structure and in Kenshi, of course, in Kenshi. In fact, that actually doesn't hold up in court anymore. Is that something I just got to tank? Is there a time frame where my players should have leveled up? Should I try to carve out a bunch of space between major events? Or should I stamp each of their foreheads with crybaby points, shave their heads, and parade them around the city, ringing a bell and chanting shame until they've atoned? Let me know, bro. This is such a good question, and there's a reason that this is such a good question. And the reason for that is that I can't think. I just pass out. My head slams against the table. Is that this is not an XP versus milestone question. Objectively, whether we're using XP or milestone, the question is, how often do I level up my players? And the answer to that is very simple. I don't know. It depends on about 1,000 factors. Now, I have been playing in a D&D campaign that has gone over for over 4 years. We play, I would say, I mean, at this point, it's very infrequent, but like at one point we were playing every Sunday and then like every other Sunday and then once every Sunday, one Sunday every month. But we've been playing for 4 years and I'm level 9, 10. And that's an extreme case, right? I would dare say that you should be higher than that at that point. Now, there's multiple ways that we can look at this, right? You can do it where maybe it works for your campaign that, you know, you have a set of players that get from level X, level 1, level 5, level 7, until another level. Maybe whether that be 20, 15, or 13, or whatever works. And then you can level them up during that time, and it stays within the stakes and the realism of your world. Maybe it doesn't make sense to have a level 20 demigod running around, right? Well, maybe you pack that up, you pack those characters up, and you put them away, and you can bring in a new set. So now you start back at level 5. And your players may not hate this because, 1, they make a new character, and 2, they can try out a new class. They want to try out a new build. Some people very rarely play D&D. They may have been playing for 7 years, but maybe they played only 2 campaigns in those 7 years, and they've only tried 2 classes. The only other time they can try out those classes are in Baldur's Gate. But listen, I'm paying $40,000 a day to get NFL Plus Pass, right? And I'm working a double on Saturday because I don't have employees. So maybe I don't, have the money or time to play Baldur's Gate, but I do have time every Sunday to sit down with my friends and play a 4-hour game. And maybe XP would have gotten me there to a higher level. Because that's what I care about, right? That XP would have got me there as opposed to milestone. So that's one way to do it, right? Cycle out those characters, get new things in. And both you and your players are going to love it. You get new characters, new backgrounds, new stories to be told. Now we got to look at it from the objective. Okay, maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I want to have a level 1 through 20 campaign. Well, the thing is a good metric, right, to be how often you want to level up is dependent upon, 1, the time frame of your campaign, if it's a sandbox, if it's not. If it's a sandbox, you should be leveling them up twice a session, because sandboxes are boring and dumb and dull, and you should probably want to get that over with as fast as you can, right? No, that's a joke. But listen, I'm not going to speak on a West March style game and tell you how often you should level up, because I don't play that. Well, that's a different kind of D&D. I don't want to tell you on a dungeon crawl, because that's a different kind of D&D. You leveling your characters up depends on the time frame of the story. And if your players are pissing their pants about not leveling up, tell them to maybe, poke the main story a little bit more. Maybe tell them, hey, maybe if you got more stuff in the main quest, then it'd fit in my time frame of however long, right? You guys going and opening up a tavern and playing your dumb tavern simulator and then complaining to me that it's boring after 3 sessions that you made the sandwich for. Maybe the reason that we're still level 7 after 4 months is that you guys haven't done anything. Have you thought about that? So yeah, there's a multitude of factors, and it's a great question. Is there an answer? Yes, I just gave you the perfect one. But it's dependent on your campaign, how long you want to get this. And listen, don't burn yourself out too, Mr. DM. I don't know how long this campaign's been going on for, what that looks like, but don't get too bored of it. Maybe if they're playing Subway Surfers. You, the DM, are competing against Subway Surfers and AI, ASMR, Plants vs. Zombies, cutting videos, and Twitter movie takes that are just rehashed from Kill Count or whatever. What's the Cinema Sins? You're competing against that. It makes their brain feel good. It makes them feel good. And maybe if you took some time to realize, this isn't about story. It's about making their brains feel nice. And then you get them. Then you start XP. So think about yourself. Think about your story. Think about different ways to go about it. This is the out of the box episode. Maybe that'll be the title. Thinking out of the box. Thank God. Wow, got that out of my way. Usually it takes me 2 full minutes to think of the title. But we're looking at things in a box. And you got to think outside of it. So let me just make sure that I don't say anything that I'm not supposed to at the end of this. Absolutely love the content, especially these past 2 episodes, which have been a delight to have returned perfectly alongside my 1-hour-long transit to and from university. Well, hey, I'm glad to help you along your drive. Hope that your grades are good. And I hope you weren't like me in college, where I would wait after I do my classes until 2 p.m. and then I would go up to the 3rd floor of the library at my university, and I'd sit in the same cubicle so I could study because, my mind runs. It goes around everywhere. I can't concentrate. I hated studying. I felt stuck in my life. And I go to the same cubicle and some person etched into it. Here's to you, kid. And I look at it every day. When I was in college, I was contemplating, this is serious, I was contemplating being a trucker. I wanted to leave. At one point, I was going to leave, and I was going to drop out of college, and I was going to go to Second City. I go, my life is boring. I go, academia is not for me. I think I was made to create or build with my hands or be a trucker. I was in such a rut, and I was doing fine in college, on paper and everything. And I was doing, my engineering work when I was in university and doing fine. I really was, but it was soul sucking. For some reason, the college memory I hold nearest and dearest to me is driving around campus and getting the first text that Half-Life Alyx was announced. And to me, that's a big college memory for me is remembering that. But I was at let me be clear, right? The typical things is join a club, do this and that. I was in theater. I was the manager of the lacrosse team for a little bit. I was active in my community. I had friends. I had great friends. But I look back and I was a jaded jerk, and but it all stems from the fact that I was very miserable at life at the time. And then I made it to LA, and my parents were supporting me. I wasn't running from anything, but all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, I have an opportunity to make a name for myself again. I'm out. I've got my degree, and it's done. And it has done well for me, right? As it is. I got my internships. I learned a lot. I wouldn't be where I am without the experiences that I did and whatever. But Sorry, that was a tangent. I talked about in my last video how much I did not like college, but I hope your university time is going well. Remember the 2-drink limit, unless you're playing Heroes of Barcadia, not sponsored. And you can get a little bit tipsy, have a little bit of fun. Hello, Zachary, the bold man, sir thing person. Thanks for that. I've been love seeing you rage at D&D takes and start foaming at the mouth like you have rabies. In one of my recent sessions, we were fighting an unnamed boss guy. In this campaign, I'm a level 13 Aberrant Mind Warforged Sorcerer. Like, what do those words mean, right? You come into D&D and imagine trying to, oh, you want to hear about my D&D character? Yeah, I'm an Aberrant Mind Warforged Sorcerer. Blink, blink, blink. It's the Edda Netty blink sound. I think I had a skit idea for that once, or like a tweet idea, where I thought I would just let me bring it up in my notes, where I would just say the most complicated things that you could possibly say that has to do anything with D&D, and it's like no one would understand it. Here it is. When your ancestry Agathonian Aasimar Aberrant Mind Sorcerer hasten cast Abadalzim's Horde Wilting on your party's green Yuan-Ti Artillerist Artificer. That's a sentence that makes sense in Dungeons and Dragons. That's funny. Of course, I can't I could make a skit. Maybe the skit is here, we're going to be making a skit together live, an idea for a skit. Who knows if this will ever come out, but it'd be maybe a guy comes over and he sits down. He's like, thanks, man. Hey, dude, I appreciate you for having me in today. That's how I start a bunch of skits. Oh, yeah, dude, no problem. What are you playing? Oh, I think I'm playing like a halfling rogue. Oh, cool. What are you playing? Oh, me? Oh, I'm playing a Yuan-Ti Artillerist Artificer, and Jack just played. He's an Ancestry Agathonian Aasimar Aberrant Mind Sorcerer, and he hastened to cast Abdazalm Horde Wilting. What does that mean? Oh, well, and then it's like, where does it go from there, right? And this is how I think about, that was a peek into the mind of me making a skit. But where does it go from there, right? Does it go? Maybe it starts off slower. Maybe he says he's I'm a Yuan-Ti. What does that mean? Oh, it's I'm like a snake person. Oh, nice. Well, I'm an artificer. What does that mean? Then it's well, I made a video like that before, and these are how these things go. This is what my mind goes through. In one of my recent sessions, we were fighting an unnamed boss guy in the campaign, and I have the teleports. He has the teleport spell. They have the teleport spell. I asked my DM if there was any debris in the area. He confirmed that there was a chandelier rubble from the guy dropping in with a dragon. This boss was immune to magic attacks, but I figured if I casted magic onto something, it'd cause the effect to affect him without casting a spell. It would work. So I rolled to see if I successfully teleported the rubble above the boss to try and crush him. I got a 90 on the percentile dice, so it should hit, right? No, he said the boss had somehow deflected the debris with a shield and had instead decapitated the dragon. I was displeased, but we continued on with the session. The fighting area changed to the sky, so I used control winds to knock him off the platform and into freefall. Again, he somehow didn't fall to the ground, but instead a conveniently solid cloud. I left after that session with a bad taste in the mouth. Am I overreacting to this, or is this actually unfair? I think we have to look at this question and how you feel and how maybe the DM feels in an objective light, right? Because there is a conflict of interest here. You want to perform, and you're a sorcerer, a spellcaster. Wow, tale is told as time. And you want to do these cool spells that the DM is not prepared for you to do. And he has said, because maybe there's some background to this that we can read the context clues, that maybe you've casted a spell once or twice or whoever, and and he's immune to magic. It's like, I'll get him this time. The DM's like, I'll get you this time. Don't worry. They've had they've had 20 minutes to prepare before the session. They just got off their double at Qdoba. They just got paid. They got paid on Friday. They get paid bi-weekly, and their NFL season ticket just went through, and now they're now they're overdrafting on their Huntington account. And he's stressed, and he's like, I want to make a cool boss, but the magic casters always ruin it for me. They always ruin it for me. So this guy's immune to magic, and you waltz in, and you do what you're supposed to as a sorcerer. You teleport debris above the guy's head, and you look over, and your DM's like, oh my God. And they reek of chicken and guacamole and they're still in their apron and they have their badge. I gotta bleep that now. They got their little badge. Hello. It's like the Texas Roadhouse. Those shirts make me uncomfortable. It says, I love my job. I love my job. And he's wearing his Texas Roadhouse shirt. And it says, I love my job. And he's got a freaking hat on. And he's got his apron. It's covered in and he's like, oh my God, I just can't. I can't do this. What am I supposed to do? Well, it kills the. Okay, I got it. It's going to be half and half. All right. You see him throw up an arcane shield. The debris falls around. It cascades off the sides of the phantasmal force. Actual spell. Now I'm confusing people. But the debris falls down and it decapitates the dragon. Its body falls with a thud. And you're there and you're like, I meant for it to kill the boss. And that's bad. That's not what I wanted to do. You look back down at Cookie Clicker and you're tapping. And your neurons are firing. I wanted to KO the boss in one attack. So who's in the wrong, right? You're here and you've been playing Cookie Clicker for 7 hours and but you have agency. And you did a smart thing. This guy's immune to your attacks. So you'll use magic to make it a physical attack. That's not a dumb thing to do. That was not a dumb player thing to do. That wasn't irresponsible. That wasn't, trying to get one. It, in a way, is trying to get one up in your DM, but not in a bad light, right? So it leaves a little taste in your mouth. But your DM, meanwhile, is emailing me and he's like, my sorcerer is running the game. And you're so right about talking about wizards and how boring they are and how they ruin games. Yeah, listen, I don't think either of you are wrong. This is a conflict of interest that is an inherent problem with game design and how difficult it is. Do I think D&D is bad because of it? No, I think it's an inherent problem. And I think he came up with a fine conclusion, which is that you killed the dragon and the boss fight continues on because he's had a plan, right? He's clearly wants you guys to get in the sky and he wants this to be like the ending of Final Fantasy 9. 6? I can't remember. What's the one that has like a boss with 17 phases and they're like a level of Dante's Inferno's hell and everything. I don't know. I can't remember what. And it has 7 different songs and it's the best. And he's had this planned out and you almost destroyed him turn 1. So then you go and you're in the sky and you try to cast, what is it called? Gushiest Wind. So you use control winds to knock this guy off the platform into free fall. Again, he somehow didn't fall to the ground, but instead conveniently landed on a solid cloud. And again, this is the same thing you just went through. This guy has 7 more phases of this boss. He has it hastily written down on his little notepad. And he looks over and you're on phase 4, and there's 3 more to go. And you could potentially, he doesn't know you can control wind. He doesn't know that you can do all this magical stuff, but it's true. The wind, who's to say, right? Is the wind magical? Are you just influencing the wind with magic? What does that mean to be immune to magic? It's not a good way to go around it, but it is a way to try. So listen, I understand you left the session with a bad taste in your mouth. I think that this isn't one of those where I usually yell and I get mad at the person writing in and that, you are simply saying, why do I feel this way? You are messaging me and being like, am I overreacting that I felt like this was unfair? And I'll say, I've had my things whatever. I think more of the question is why do I feel this way? Why do I feel like this is unfair? And the reason for that might just be the fact that your DM might also feel that way. They left and they're like, oh my gosh, I could have gone about that better. But what was I supposed to do? I was put on the spot. This is the spell casting situation. It is the catch-22. You will have a bunch of cool spells and your DM will not be prepared for them. And these situations will arise. As long as your DM is giving you something to work with, you can kill the dragon, you hurt the guy by controlling wind. I think that's a fine medium, right? I think that if you control your inner rage, I think if you control that abyssal rage within you, just play more Cookie Clicker, go on Roblox. I think that you'll come to understand slowly, fine. That was a fine median. At least I had an impact. Now, if your spells did nothing, that's a whole different thing, right? Because then you get back into that situation I told you with wizards. Either they're working or they're not. And 90% of the time they're not, and you're rolling 5d10. So, listen, I understand it left a bad taste in your mouth. It probably left a bad taste in your mouth to your DM. Don't get too upset about it. And just know that, like, this is kind of a good case scenario. You had some impact on the fight, and take your wins where you can. All right, let's get into donations. Mazel Tov sent $2 and said, "Hey, Jerma the Bold, it's great to see you another week. I just binged every one of your podcast series, and thank you for the 2. You're incredibly entertaining. I did want to ask, would you ever be open to deconstructing more modern one-shots, 3.5, 4th, 5th edition, in a long form similar to how you're doing with AD&D? It'd be fun to watch you rep apart contemporary Wizards of the Coast one-shots or willing small-time writers. P.S. XP is greater than milestone because number go up more often." That's so funny. That's so funny because yes, I know. That's why you guys like XP so much more. Yes. This also brings up the thing of people get so mad at me that I'm playing Advanced Dungeons and Dragons modules with 5e, and they're like, that's why these problem comes up and whatever. And listen, I am making these Advanced Dungeons and Dragons modules reviews for people who, shockingly, are not into Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. I'm making it for a broader audience. I'm sorry that I don't want to explain rules that will never be explained to anybody ever, and trying to make it so that it's more palatable for the audience. I will not do Advanced Dungeons and Dragons reviews with old Advanced Dungeons and Dragons rules. You are too caught up in the niche for that. This is supposed to be a broader example of how I can bring people into older modules that otherwise would not read them in a million years. One of those stops being the fact that it's a different, complicated rule system. So I am not going to apologize for that. I'm going to just tell you that I'm sorry that I'm making it more palatable for people that don't know how these older systems are made. So I think it's a great idea to do 3.5 and 4th edition and 5th edition and stuff. But there's just so much gold out there. So who knows? Maybe. I think this is a great idea. Maybe the next one will be 3.5. I think it's just like, what's out there to see. So thank you for the 2. Appreciate you. Ghost Toast 36 gave me $5, sent $5. I don't know why I said it like that. I love your content, especially the podcast, and I actually really like that you do most of the characters yourself in your videos. It shows your talent, and you're able to make every character seem like a separate individual despite them all being played by one person. I also wanted to thank you for inspiring me to finally try D&D. I've always felt like I wouldn't be good enough to play. But you helped me through the confidence to give it a shot by realizing it doesn't need to be perfect to be fun. It's about having a good time, telling a story together with friends. You also made me realize I'd actually really like to try out being a DM one day, so thanks for that. P.S. I really like the thumbnail from the last video. Your thumbnail girl does good work. Thank you. Porcelain does awesome. Make sure to check out their art. I've been working with them for a little bit, and we had a conversation about the art and everything. And I'm like, listen, I love your art and I don't want it to be like identified with me. I want to make sure you still have your own identity and everything like that. But they're very great. So I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words. Keep playing D&D, tell your stories. It's fun. It doesn't have to be perfect. Don't sweat it. It's a great fun hobby. VWE9098 sent 5. First of all, love the content. The Force Oracle video was hysterical. Thank you. I showed it to my dad who used to DM way back when 2-hit AC 0 was a thing. For those who don't know, the lower your AC before was better in like 2nd edition, all that. And it was called THAC0 or 2-hit AC 0 was the thing, and he loved it too. Second, I remember you mentioning Spotlight and background style players a few episodes back. So my question is, would you rather DM a full party of Spotlight players or a full party of background players? Look forward to more content. I think that's a great question. Probably background players. I feel like I can engage sometimes. Oh, man. Of course, the right answer is a balance of both. But I think the conflict of interest between other players and me fighting them is better than me fighting the group of players who don't want to participate. So as of right now, before I put too much thought into it, I will say a full party of background players is what I would prefer as opposed to a full party of Spotlight players because they might hit heads. So I don't know. That's a great question. Bluebread00 sent 10. Thank you. Just watched the Solar Gardens video, and I don't think the Z's pose you had at the end went unnoticed. Much love. Look forward to these videos every Monday. Thank you, Bluebread. Yep, I hit the Z's pose on Critical. Probably the first person on Critical Role's channel to hit the Z's pose. I was very much, for those who don't know, he was a bodybuilder. He was kind of funny. It was, and listen, yeah. But yeah, I used to be very much into bodybuilding and health, and I told you guys I worked at a gym, but no, like throughout COVID and throughout past that, I was before all the D&D stuff, and I was a big nerd throughout all of that. Don't get me wrong, but I was much more into, watching the original Arnold documentary and keeping up with the Arnold and bodybuilders and all of that. And I thought it was cool. I lifted a lot of weights, and I'd never really hit where I wanted to. Like I wanted to be, what's the saying is the first time you pick up a dumbbell, you'll be small for the rest of your life. And that's so true. Like I would, but I used to be in really, really good shape. And what's the thing is like lock in end of August or something. Maybe I'll do that where I get back. And I've been, these last 2 weeks, I've not been going to the gym, and I want to be going back. But yeah, I think I have to pace out my sleep better. I don't know. The podcast has been going on. MedRoute98 send me 30 shekels. Thank you. I really appreciate that. They just said smiley face, so I appreciate. Thank you for supporting the channel. Chinese Obama again, 6043 sent £2. Left a joke comment about my Gloomstalker Ranger, one of the last episodes. I figured I'd give an update for what my second ever D&D character is like. We've moved into the main campaign for Waterdeep, and I had a swashbuckler rogue who is this short Spanish-flavored duelist who smites his sneak attack radiant rather than piercing. While the damage has decreased and I don't melt down everything in sight. On turn 1, I'm finding this gameplay to be more rewarding, even just at level 4. That's great. Engaging with the control elements of my character is fun, and thanks to the build this character, Blood Hunter, Homebrew, Vampire Lady, Best Friend, I have access to a move called the Blender. And yes, you said Chinese Obama right the other episode. Don't mind the name. It's from an old time. Okay. Well, good. Hey, I'm glad to hear that you're having fun with the variety. The next next comment is from Papillon. Thank you again. One of the biggest supporters of the channel from the comments. Appreciate you, Papillon. 7210 sent 10. Insert pic of Skarsgård from Chernobyl. No, the Gloomstalker Ranger is only taking 1 fighter feat, which I'm told is within the normal parameters. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. So good. Thank you for the 10. Prime Hylian sent New Zealand currency. I think that's what it is. $9. Me handing Zach a few foreign coins. Here, buy yourself a nice Reuben. Thanks for answering my question. Pacing one. I sent a follow-up on what happened. If you're curious, no pressure. Much love. XOXO. Thank you, Prime Hylian. I will keep an eye out for that because a lot of stuff gets sent to the junk folder and then it gets them all mixed up there. Yeah. Cookie792 sent $2. Heroes of Arcadia really sucks when you have no time. When you have a 2-drink limit. Thanks, Zach. No problems. Hey. Heroes of Arcadia, you can drink as much as you want. Responsibly, unironically. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for the love on the long-form videos. More to come. I'm going to be traveling a little bit early September, like second week of September. More cool collabs that won't come out for a very long time. Oh, that's going to sound like it's a different thing than what it is. Listen, I'm working on different stuff, all right? But I'm not Oh, my God. Am I going to have to cut this? I'm not. That sounds like I'm going to be in something like way bigger than it is. Listen, I'm collaborating with a lot of people, different things, different channels, some magic stuff. Okay. But I'm traveling a little bit for that. But we have a long form coming out this Friday. Make sure to check that out. It's going to be part 2 of the card game, and then kind of going back into more of the grind of the short form stuff. I've done a lot of long form these last 2 weeks and this coming week. And I think I'm going to spend a lot more time doing some short form stuff. So thank you for tuning in. Have a great week. Have a great Monday. Stay cool. Stay bold. And yeah, thank you for the support. I love you, and bye.